Good morning. Hope Zvara here, creator of Core Functional Fitness. And I'm here to take you through a practice to help release the psoas and release the hip flexors. For many people, the front butt, which some people call it, is very tight and short, which is leaving us with a lot of back issues and even sometimes rib cage and breathing issues. And the only problem, excuse me, this morning, and the only problem with that is many people are only assessing where the pain is and not necessarily where the pain could be coming from. And so I always teach my students and my teacher trainers assess from the bottom to the top. And what that means is that what's going on below is most likely causing what's going on above. Think about it. If a tree has faulty roots, the leaves aren't going to bud and it's not going to show fruit or pine cones or whatever it is. And so if we only look to the leaves on a tree, we're never going to realize that maybe it's lacking water or maybe it was planted in faulty soil. And so we always want to look at what's going on with our feet, with our knees, rotation of our legs. Maybe the rotation or how we stand or sit in our pelvis could in fact be causing our shoulder issues, our neck issues, even be giving us headaches and tension in our jaw. So today we're going to be assessing the hip flexors and also some of the quad attachments and the psoas. And so as we go through, don't be surprised if I throw in a little bit of some anatomy education. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to healing our bodies. And I like to give a lot of descriptions and explain a lot what's going on as I try to see most of my videos as educational videos, not just as a morning or evening practice. So in that case, let's get started. We're going to start on our back. You will need 2 blocks. I like 4-inch blocks. Foam blocks work really nice too. I only have cork here at home, so we're going to make do with what we have. Lay back. And if you find that in laying back, let me just move my blocks out of the way here. And if you find that in laying back, your head is severely tipped backwards, please get something for you to support your head, even slightly your shoulder girdle, so that your body can rest open and as outright as much as possible. Let's just start with a few rounds of some pelvic tilting. With the feet in a narrow stance, about sits bones distance, bring your hands to your pelvis, pubis bone and hip bones. I'm going to place my hands on there like a triangle. And on the inhalation, gently start to arc the back away from the floor. This is giving me space to slide my arm underneath my lower back, not me lifting my hips up off the floor. As you exhale now, really important, I want you to try to contract the anal sphincter, tipping the lower back in towards the floor. We're not death squeezing the glutes. We are feeling a sinking of the abdomen in towards the floor. Inhale, release all of that, so no tension in the pelvic bowl whatsoever. And then exhale again, leading with the contraction of my pelvic floor. Press your feet into the mat, belly sinks into the floor. Inhale, release all of that. Exhale. Relax your rib cage. Now add the arms. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. 2 more. Last one. And then come back into neutral. Front ribs are relaxed. I'm just going to adjust my upper back to help that, and I'm resting in pelvic neutral. Great. Grab one of your blocks now, and you're going to place the block at lowest level underneath the hips. Now, if you have severely tight hip flexors, the block will be too aggressive. So feel free to come down, just do this on the floor flat, or maybe take a small rolled towel or blanket, and you'll have to gradually work up to this. This is a pose that I work with quite a bit, and it really helps keep my lower back in check, and for some of the sitting I do at a computer, it definitely helps keep my hip flexors happy and at bay. All right, so I'll work opposite in mirror image. Extend your right leg out, keeping somewhat of pelvic neutral. Now imagine as though the reach out through your right heel is as though you're trying to detach your leg from your body. Imagine pulling Barbie's leg right off of Barbie, but not taking her pelvis with. Slowly start to draw the opposite knee in, either grabbing hold of the hamstring or the shin or use a strap. Slowly start to draw your bent knee in, only as far as you can start to feel sensation in the hip. We want to think about it like peeling an onion, layer by layer. A deeper, more intense stretch does not equal a better stretch. So as you start to draw the knee in, I'm going to stop right here then. I'm going to really focus on reaching out through the heel of my bottom foot as I relax my shoulders into the floor. You should feel no pain in your lower back. The sensation should stay in the hip. And so inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. Focus on inhaling into the hip socket. Sometimes less is more. All right, we're going to slowly switch. Release your bent knee. Drop it down to the floor. Slowly, and I'm going to use my hand for help, guide your opposite leg up. Take a moment and just pause, relax the lower back. And then we'll switch. Slide out the left leg now. Notice how I'm anchoring the heel down to the floor. A good sign that the hip flexors are too tight is if that top leg is suspended and won't drop. Reduce the size of what you're on to help accommodate that extreme restriction. So again, in our heads, we have to start relearning that if I go to the nth degree, I'm going to get this bigger result. And usually we have to back off in order to enhance it or get more out of what it is we're hoping to get out. All right, opposite knee comes in slowly. Now you've just lengthened that right hip flexor. So if it's feeling a little bulky, just externally rotate the thigh slightly when you bring that knee in, and that'll give you more space. All right, holding on either the shin, hamstring, or use a strap. Relax your shoulders. I'm going to focus on reaching out through the heel of my left foot as I gently guide my right knee in. Once I feel that initial stretch, I'm going to hold there and breathe. So in our minds, usually we have to relearn how we approach poses because we'll think more is better. And if I feel this much stretch in the beginning, well, if I yank more, clearly I'm going to get a better stretch. Do not bypass that initial sensation. That's that surface stretch. We need that, and then going deeper. This is one you can hold up to 10 minutes. We're just doing several rounds of breath here for this morning, but definitely go back to this one, especially if you do a lot of sitting or if you're a runner. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. Focus on inhaling and expanding into the hip socket on your left side. Keeping the pelvis nice and steady. I'm not taking the pelvis with. The stickier my hip flexors are, the more when I try to reach out through my bottom heel, my hips, instead of staying level and I'm lengthening the leg away from the socket, I simply take that hip with. I don't want you to take that hip with. slowly now release your bent knee. Take your time. If you need to use your hands for help, use your opposite hand to help your straight leg up. Take a few moments and breathe. Soften through the hip folds. And then slowly lift your hips. Remove, if you were sitting on something, out from under you. And let your sacrum drop to the floor. Constructive rest pose. Feet come out, knees steeple in. Take a couple deep breaths. Relax through the pelvis and relax through the lower back. So notice if you're holding on to tension, and I want you to focus your breathing, inhales and exhales, into that area of the body and work to soften that. Nice. Gently open the eyes and walk your feet wider than your yoga mat. I'm just going to slightly off-center myself here. Walk your feet wider than your yoga mat. And now let's go right knee. Right knee's going to fall in. And we're going to focus more on the right knee now. Really important here. I want you to use one hand. Lift the head. The knee is right under the hip socket. That way we don't put any tension on the knee joint itself. And we're able to acknowledge the entire socket, outside and inside. So as your knee falls down, you can take your opposite leg, just let it drop out. I have a wall here. Or you can cross and place the ankle over the opposing knee. Now this is not an option if your knee is floating higher than your hip socket. There's too much tension in your hip and knee, and all you're going to do is put more force where there shouldn't be. So back off, get rid of that foot, and just let the opposite leg fall outward. I want you to think about relaxing the glute and now exaggerating the lift of the left hip and exaggerating the arc of the left side of the back. Broaden through the upper shoulders. Now arms can come to cactus or to T. And then rotate your head. I'm just going to move my blocks here. Rotate your head to look towards your foot side. So nice deep inhalation, nice deep exhalation. Continuously go back to checking that your glute is not clenching. So we do have a muscle running from the outside of the hip to the inside of the knee. It's called the sartorius. So if you're getting knee pain throughout the day, it may be the hip. But we also have all of our quadricep muscles running from our hip down and over our knee joint. And one of our quadriceps, our main quad, runs all the way up through the hip flexor. Or up through the hip joint, sorry. So definitely some tension to be had there, and it's our job to try to alleviate some of that. So again, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. It is normal then for that tension to cause back pain. So again, is it your back that's causing pain, or is it simply reacting to tension? And about a half a minute here still, so just relaxed breathing. Any numbness and tingling, you want to honor that. Come out of the pose. All right, release your ankle if it was crossed. Slowly bring your legs back to center. I'm going to walk my feet back in. Take a moment, constructive rest pose. Arms can come overhead. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose. Let that side recover. Many times our initial reaction is to shake it out, we're taught. But when we're coming from this type of approach, I want you just to take a few breaths here and let everything settle down. Let your body readjust. Let it find its new normal. And then, once those sensations have subsided, start to create movement in a way that makes sense for you. Noticing how many times we're shaking it out because we're emotionally or mentally uncomfortable rather than physically. So just some food for thought. All right, gently draw the knees into the chest. Take your time. Use your hands for help if necessary. Feel the lower back spread out. And then drop the feet back to the floor. Awesome. All right, again, same thing. My feet are going to go wider than my yoga mat. I'm just going to off-center myself a little bit so that I can do my other side. All right, now, left knee falls in. Check the knee. Use your hand for help. My knee is underneath my hip socket, okay? Rebroaden the upper back, and then either let the opposite leg drop out. So if my knee was way up here, I'm not going to cross my opposite ankle over the knee. Too much tension. Let gravity do the rest of the work. Possibly crossing the ankle over the knee. Relax the glutes and let the arc of the back be exaggerated. Rebroaden the upper shoulders, cactus arms or T, and then lifting the head, fully rotating it the opposite way. And so inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. Pay attention as you rest here to try to relax out the glute muscle a little bit. So we tend to be clenching. I just don't want you clenching, okay? Really focus on trying to soften through the IT band, soften through the quad attachments, and just stay with your breath. If it gets to be too much, let the ankle off the knee if you have it crossed. These are staple postures for me. I really try to pay attention to my body and make sure that I'm as happy as possible, which doesn't always happen, but do the best that you can. All right, so we're going to try to stay here for that 2 minutes. Inhaling through the nose. We're already almost through our first minute. Exhaling through the nose. Bring your mind into your body here for this next minute and a half. Again, check in, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. I willingly and consciously release all tension, all tightness. About a half a minute here. Stay with your breathing, and again, try to relax into that left socket as much as you can. Let the arc of the left side of the back be lengthened and stretched. Now slowly make your way back to center. Take your time. Here's that running from the tension again, or running from the sensation. Just adjusting yourself so you're in neutral again, and just let the knees steeple. Take a couple breaths. If it makes sense, bring your hands to your hips. I call it touch sensation. You touch a part of your body, becomes more aware. Close your eyes. Relax your bottom. So relax your pelvic floor. Relax all the tissues underneath the hands. And we'll take a few breaths here in constructive rest pose. Open your eyes gently. Walk your feet to one side. Roll your hips to one side. Now use your top hand for help. Press up securely using that top hand. That way you're not grabbing with your hip flexors or your chest muscles. Awesome. All right, so you're going to need 2 blocks now. So we're transitioning to going more from a kneeling position. And coming into a kneeling position, we're going to work with a lunge. And so for many of us, we probably all worked with lunges. You probably see tons of lunges in our videos and in our classes, but are you doing a lunge that best serves your body? Most of us are taking the tightness with, rather than trying to hit the tightness head on and say, okay, I need to release you. So I want you to really think about that as we come into a lunge. So we're going to go a little bit slower, so pardon this pace if you're not used to slowing down. All right, so when you're ready, step your right foot forward. So right foot will step forward, and now check your back leg to make sure the heel is behind the knee, at least for this variation today. Level the hips and square the hips. So if I face you, just for a second, and I'm part of my back foot, and I let my hips just kind of take over, you can see that my hips are not level. The tightness in my quad and hip flexors are taking over, and it's pulling that hip down. And not only am I not going to serve this hip flexor or my lower back as much, but I'm also missing out on glute and hamstring strengthening on the front leg, because now this hip is jacked up. So I really want you to think about trying to roll the front thigh down and out and lift the opposite hip up. So now I'm not only more level, but I can actually assess where I'm tight and restricted. That way, my hip flexor doesn't stay short and tight, and my lower back doesn't stay short and tight. Those are the people that often then are going to thrust the rib cage forward due to that tightness in order to go deeper. So let's see how we do in this pose this morning. Again, these are great also wake-up poses, because most of us find that when we wake up in the morning, we are quite stiff. All right. Pressing through the back big toe, trying to stay long through the ankle. Level the hips. Okay, if you need to, use knee padding. Nothing wrong with that. Just going to adjust my knee here. And then as I come down, notice how my front foot is slightly forward to start. I'm only going to go as far as I can keep neutral. Level and neutral make neutral. Neutral and level. Relaxing the front ribs down. So I have a really potent stretch in this hip. I'm going to stay here. I could also stack my blocks if needed, but I'm pinning my front thigh down to help keep my body in better alignment. Now, as long as I can keep the front ribs down, extend the arm up and overhead, bring it back behind the ear to increase that stretch load. I'm pressing through the back big toe and reaching through the waistline without pushing my rib cage forward. Easier said than done. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. Try to breathe into your left hip socket. Pushing firmly into the front foot, relax your shoulders. We're going for a minute here. Keep the front hip from rolling up. And then exhale, slowly lower the arm down. And slowly bring your hips back. Take your time. Now slowly drop down to the heels. Arms outstretched. Legs are as wide as you need to. Forehead towards the floor. Inhale, come up slowly. And now step your opposite foot forward. So I'm just going to demonstrate very gently what usually happens in a deep lunge. Most of the time, like I said, we take the tightness with. So our body gets thrusted forward, and then in the effort to look beautiful in the posture, we throw our arms up and jet our rib cage out. So look similar, short and tight, short and tight, short and tight. So even though we're feeling a stretch, what we're actually feeling is the same muscles being overstretched, and they feel strained because they're over lengthened. So I really want you to try to focus on getting into the area of the body that we really need the stretch, or we need the length. All right, let's try the opposite side. Level and square the hips. Slowly come forward. Now again, try not to sink into that hip socket. This is me letting the tightness take over. Glute is coming out and up. Hip flexors taking over. I'm going to back off, keeping my front rib cage down, extending the arm, bending, extending it to try to keep the rib cage down. Bringing the arm back. The arm may not be necessary. It's like a decoration or a ribbon on a present. The outer wrapping does not make the present any better. Inhale through the nose, press the top of the back big toe down, exhale through the nose. If you're feeling any negativity in the lower back, you're probably crooked with your hip somewhere. Breathe. Anyone with SI joint issues, definitely pay attention to neutral. We got about half a minute here. Inhale, lengthen rather than lift the rib cage. Exhale, lower the arm down. Bring your hips back slowly. Let's come into standing forward bend. Feet come hips distance or parallel. Toes spread wide. And notice if your arches collapse. If they do, rotate your thigh bones, but stay grounded through your big toe. Slight bend in the knees, lean forward. So we want to try to create length through the lower back rather than focusing on the hamstrings and hanging like you are 9 months pregnant with a big basketball between you and your thighs. Inhale through the nose. You can use your arms for help. Exhale. Exhale, release your arms down. Now, turn the tailbone down, contract the pelvic core. Exhale, roll yourself up, bend your knees. Inhale, wave your hips forward, slight contraction in the glutes. Extend your arms up overhead. Exhale, bring your hands to prayer. Great job. So it wasn't a long practice this morning or even many postures, but hopefully it was an effective practice for you. So the 3 moves that we worked on today are heavy hitters. Practice them all individually or practice them as a group for a morning or evening practice. No matter what you do, do it well. For more information, visit my website at hopecorefitness.com, and I can't wait to come to the mat with you again. From my heart to yours, from my soul to yours, namaste.